Good evening, and thank you for joining us. For tonight's story, we are reading The High Jumpers from Hans Christian Andersen. The High Jumpers. The flea, the grasshopper, and the skipjack decided to see which of them could jump highest, and they invited all the world and anybody else who wanted to come and see the match. And 3 whopping big jumpers they were when they got together. "I shall give my daughter to the one who jumps the highest," said the king, "for it would be rather mean to let these people jump for nothing." The flea was the first to come forward. He had such nice manners, and bowed to everyone present, for he had gentle blood in his veins, and never kept company with anybody but people, and that does make a difference. Next came the grasshopper. He, to be sure, was very much stouter, yet he was rather well bred, and he was wearing a uniform he had been born to, while he said that he had very old connections in the land of Egypt, and was highly respected at home. He had been taken straight from the field and put into a house of cards which had 3 stories, all of the court cards facing inwards. In it there were both doors and windows, cut from life out of the Queen of Hearts. "I'm such a singer," he said, "that 16 born crickets, who have chirped since childhood without ever getting a house of cards, on hearing me have fretted themselves even thinner than they were to start with." And so the 2 of them, the flea and the grasshopper, made out a good case to show who they were, and why they thought themselves fit to marry a princess. The skipjack never spoke a word, but of him it was said that he thought all the harder, and the court dog, after taking a sniff at him, answered for the fact that the skipjack came of good family. The old counselor, who had been given 3 decorations for holding his tongue, maintained that the skipjack had the gift of magic. You could tell from his back whether the winter would be a mild or a hard one, and nobody can tell that from the back of a man who writes the weather forecasts. "Well, I'm saying nothing," said the old king, "but that's because I always believe in keeping my own counsel." By now it was time for the jumping. The flea jumped so high that nobody could see him, and so they declared that he hadn't jumped at all, and that now was mean. The grasshopper only jumped half as high, but he jumped straight into the king's face, and that was nasty, said the king. The skipjack stood a long time, thinking it over, and that in the end everyone thought that he couldn't jump. "I hope he isn't feeling unwell," said the court dog, taking another sniff at him. Swish! With a little sideward skip, he had jumped into the princess's lap as she sat on a little golden footstool. At this the king said, "The highest jump is the jump up to my daughter, for that's the point of it all. But to do that you need a head, and the skipjack has shown that he's got a head. His legs are in his head." And he won the princess. "I jumped the highest," said the flea, "but it's all the same to me. She can have the old drumstick, skin and grease and all. I jumped the highest, but to make your mark in this world you want body." And the flea went abroad on active service, where they say he was killed. The grasshopper settled in the ditch and reflected on the ups and downs of this life, and he too said, "Body's what you want, body's what you want." And so he sang his melancholy song, and it's from there that we have taken the story, though it could easily be untrue, even were it to be printed. The High Jumpers by Hans Christian Andersen. Thanks so much for listening. Good night, everybody.